Hello folks, and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. And in this video we're not going to work on cars, we're not going to work on the old tower room or the old house, because it's this time of the year where we need to start working in the garden, because the winter is actually setting in. And after a great summer and a warm fall, it's time for the big winter cleanup. And I have a lot of work in the garden to clean up all the leaves, but also to trim the hedges. And with a day like this, with 14 degrees centigrade, I can really not complain. So it's a great time to work in the garden. And you might remember from last season, we have cut this hedge all the way down, real deep onto the real bare wood. And this year, it all came back. But I have to admit that not everything recovered. But maybe next year, who knows? And it's funny how these weeds always find a way to grow inside the hedge. And I've been trying to fight them, but so far I haven't been very lucky. And then again, I don't want to use pesticides or anything like that, or herbicides to kill them. I just cut them out every year. I think it's enough talk for now, so it's time to get my act together and start working. So I'm going to use my old David Brown tractor that we restored last year, because there's a lot of hedges to be cut all around the farm. And it's about 1 kilometer of hedge, so that's a lot. So here is my old friend, David Brown 990 Selectomatic. Old tractor, but hey, we got it restored and it's working like a champ. And it's always coming to the rescue. And these are the blades that I'm going to use actually to cut the hedge. So there's a cutting blade and there is a mulching blade. And this is a pretty good system. Now I know it's a little bit dirty right now because it's been sitting there for a whole season. But once it's been running a couple of times, you'll see this is going to be all shiny again. So this is what I use to trim the hedge, because otherwise by hand it's too much. And I'm sure that many of you recognize this tractor, because this is my David Brown that we restored about a year ago. And as you can see, whatever I restore, I put it to use. So guys, I guess you fancy my mask, but this is kind of a grid that I need to have, because when you trim the hedge on the top, these blades are so high up and you get all kind of debris flying around, and I can assure you that little pieces of wood that are thrown away by this trimmer here really hurts your face if you get it on your face, so you better be safe. So cutting the hedge is not a hard job to do, to be honest, with the tractor. The only issue that I have with this is that the field without driving, the grass actually is not always that even. So if that is the case, then the tractor moves a little bit to the left or to the right, and then you get a different cut on top of the hedge. But overall, it doesn't look too bad once everything is done. And I keep adjusting it with the handles. Now I know you have automatic control handles as well, and you have actually even an arm that will adjust itself while you're doing it. I don't have this, so you will see me every so often adjusting the height, even though I'm driving here on a tarmac road. But you can see it's not really flat and it's going a little bit uphill. And you know, there's a difference between the hedge and actually the tarmac all the time. So sometimes you have to be a little bit inventive and adjust things and be happy with the result you get. It may not always be the perfect result, but to be very honest, after a couple of weeks, when it starts growing again, of course not this winter, but after the winter, you'll see that this hedge is going to look pretty nice again. So that is no issue whatsoever. And here you see the shot of the hedge which has been trimmed, both in the front of the farm and in the back. So I think this is now ready for its winter sleep. And so will I for working in the garden. So now it's time to trim the hedge with the battery-based hedge trimmer. It's all manual now because it's too difficult with the tractor on the side, because the ground isn't really level, so it moves around a lot and you don't get it nice and clean cut. So that's going to be another 2 hours of work, and then we should be done with this hedge, and then we'll need to do the others. Now, I have tried to cut the hedge before with the tractor, and it turned out to be not always all that easy, not on the vertical plane at least. So I'm using my battery operated trimmer, and that moves pretty fast. And here you can see the end result of about, I would say, 40 minutes, 45 minutes of cutting both with the tractor and the manual cutting together. So I don't think that's too bad. Now remember, this hatch was really cut down to the bare wood in the beginning of this year, so it recovered pretty nice. And here you see those awful weeds, and again, I don't kill them with weed killers. I just cut them off every year or every so often. And actually, I'm trimming the hedges about 3 times a year, so that is like 3 days I'm spending on it. But at the end, I think everything looks quite all right and satisfying. And I think that's what counts at the end, that you're happy with the result. It's been a pretty long day today, but the hedges are now cut. And in my next videos, we will be able to continue to work on the bathroom and the hallway into the tower, but also on Old Rusty and the other cars. And before I'm going to put the David Brown to bed, I will have to remove all the chips that are on the fenders and all over the place. And this stuff is really nasty because there's all kind of thorns on it, and it can really hurt. So it's better to blow it off than just to wipe it off with your hands. So this is the fruit garden, and you can see the hedge that goes all around it, and that's a very long one to cut. Now I do like nature a lot, and that's why I planted all those trees. Although I'm not a Green Party guy, let that be clear. Neither am I very religious, but the farmers in the old days were very religious, so that's why I have a huge crucifix on the farm, and it is heritage, so I need to keep it there.